love was physics, and I went to university, was studying physics, and slowly it began to dawn on me that however much physics I studied, it was never going to satisfy this whole question that kept bubbling up is, why is there mind? Why is there consciousness in the universe? And so I went off to India to study meditation with teachers there, and that was really a turning point for me, I think. Two things happened. One, I realized there was something to spirituality. I'd completely rejected religion as a kid. It was just a load of weird mumbo jumbo, completely rejected it. And I also saw that behind just about every problem we had in the world, from big environmental problems to personal problems, social problems, there was this issue of human consciousness, human ego, the self. And so my life, I came back from India just wanting to do whatever I could to help people explore themselves, to wake up, to become better human beings, more conscious human beings, because that seems to me, the most important thing in the world today that we can be doing.
As a young man, I wanted to be a doctor. And I went off to college. I was going to study medicine. But after a couple of years studying medicine in college, I then went to Paris because I wanted to get perspective on my life. And the war in Vietnam was happening then. It was a time of great conflict, of student riots. And in that context, I shifted from an interest in physical healing to social healing. And my life has never been the same. Welcome to Pete and Duane's Window. This program is going to explore the mind in the waters, the wisdom of dolphins. And I've been looking forward to this program because my dear friend Pete has, for his lifetime, been exploring the world of the oceans and the lives and experience of dolphins up close, firsthand. And so I want to turn and ask Pete, how in the world did you come to have this lifelong adventure with the world of dolphins and now also whales? Pete?
In a way, I think I was pre-programmed for it. By that I mean, when I was about 6 or 7 years old, when I could first learn to read or write at school, you know, I could read a book. I was about 7. I would go down to my local town library, and all I would do was find books on dolphins and whales, particularly whales. I was absolutely fascinated by them, not by planes or, you know, steam engines like most kids are. I was fascinated by whales and dolphins. All I could do was read about them. And so it's like it was in my soul in some way, and then throughout my life, whenever there's been an opportunity, I've just jumped in the water and swum with them, been with them. I actually had a lectureship at university on them once, on cetaceans. So it's been a sort of just a regular theme of my life all along.
What is it about whales and dolphins and these creatures that you find so fascinating?
And it's not just me, I think. I think lots of people find them fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, it's good to mention they're not fish. People tend to think they're fish. They're mammals like us. They're air breathing, which is why they come up to take air, and why you see them spout. They're clearly intelligent creatures. They've got larger brains than we have, which, you know, is also they've got larger bodies. So part of the larger brain is a larger body, but they seem to be intelligent. They also seem to be very caring, compassionate. You know, they look after people. Numerous stories of them rescuing people in distress. They're very creative, the way they live. They live in communities with each other. They're just fascinating.
Tell me a story that kind of humanizes the world of whales and dolphins.
Oh, there's one dolphin I used to play with a lot, and Underwater sound carries much more underwater, and you call a dolphin I would call a dolphin by clicking stones together. The Aborigines click sticks together. Because in the world of the water, what you're hearing is the waves, on the beach and things. You don't hear regular sound. If you hear regular tick, 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 they know it's a human being. And so I would call the dolphins. And one day I saw this dolphin coming across the water. I could see its fin coming, and then it would come under. And the next thing I knew, it was there underneath my face, just looking straight up at me, like it had come and said, "Here I am." And then just sort of three-dimensional playing with it, swimming, turning, and keeping eye contact. That they like to make eye contact.
They like to make eye contact.
Yeah, and there's that thing when you make eye contact with a dolphin, they're with you, and yet you also have mind contact. I would notice sometimes if my mind wandered, I'd be having eye contact, but you know how it is with a person. You have eye contact, but your mind starts wandering off somewhere else. If you do that with a dolphin, the dolphin says, "Oh, yeah, fat lot of good you are," and it will just swim off.
So they're being reflectively present. They're not only present, they know they're present with you.
They know they're present, yes. Yes, it's a real sort of contact of minds.
What does that say about their consciousness then?
It's hard to say. I mean, I think dolphins, any species, we don't know what goes on in their consciousness. We can only really guess. I think what we do know about dolphin consciousness is, first of all, sound is much more important to them. You can't see very far underwater. Maybe in good clear water, 200 or 300 feet maximum. Sound travels for miles. And so they, if you like, see with sound. And so they can hear miles away, and they make these clicks, these echo clicks, like bats do, or like blind people do with a stick. And they listen to the clicks, and so they can hear all their surroundings by the clicks that come back off coastlines, off other creatures, off the bottom of the ocean. And they also see you with clicks, and when you're with them, you hear this clicking, and you actually hear it in the back of the head, when it's sort of ticking in the back of the head when they're echoing you. But what I find fascinating is the echoes go through you, whereas light stops at the skin. So if I'm looking at you, I only see the skin. But sound goes through your whole body, and we know with ultrasound, if you're looking at a pregnant woman, you can look at the fetus with sound, and you can see the fetus. A dolphin sees you that way, and so do whales. So they don't just see your skin, but it's like they're seeing an X-ray picture of you, and so they can see where your organs are. They can see if your stomach's tight. They can see how fast you're breathing, if your muscles are tense. And there's stories of how they've actually seen tumours in people and gone up to people and prodded them with their snout in a certain place, and the person didn't know they were ill, and then found there was a tumour where the dolphin was prodding. Or if someone's pregnant, the dolphins see it straight away. They can see straight through, and they see each other like that, so they know, when another dolphin's pregnant, they see the unborn dolphin in there, and so they see it inside humans. So that means, for me, what I find fascinating is they know our state of mind because they know our state of body inside. You can't hide from a dolphin. I mean, I can sort of hide from you because I can put on a nice face and pretend everything's okay when inside I might be feeling tense. You can't do that with a dolphin. They know where you are.
What kind of society do they have then? If they have, not only they can see, but they have this sophisticated communication, what kind of world do they live in?
It's hard to say. I mean, they also have language, have a complex language which we haven't decoded, although they understand human language, which is interesting. As well as the clicks, they have a lot of other sounds. They have chatter, and when they're playful, they chatter a lot. They also have what are called signature sounds, which is like names, but they use the names for themselves. So rather than we use names for other people, like I call you Duane, but their names they call themselves, like, it's like, "Hi, I'm Eek Eek," and it's like Eek Eek here, and so they each have their own sound which they uttered, which identifies themselves. But they hang out in pods, in family pods, which are very close. And what's fascinating at times, they'll swim together in like one being. It's like when you see those planes, what are they, the red angels or some blue angels? What are they? Those planes, those jets flying in tight formation. Dolphins will be like that in very tight formation, swimming together with the babies and in family groups.
And so they have this culture. What kind of culture they have that we can maybe learn something from? I mean, what have they understood, let's say, as a culture of the waters?
it's so hard to put yourself in the mind of the dolphin. I mean, I don't know the answer to that. All we can do is what we see from the outside. But I think one of the things that's fascinating about them is they don't have hands.
No hands.
I mean, they do technically inside their fins, the same with whales. If you look at the skeleton, they've got 5 fingers. Whales got very long fingers, but they're inside blubber, safely tucked away inside the fins. And what that means is they haven't got into manipulating the world like we have done. And I think we've fallen into the trap, both mentally and socially, of changing things, making the world a better place, which has actually, I think, got us into a lot of trouble, because that's one of the reasons I think we're abusing the world so much, is we're continually changing, taking from the world, thinking, you know, let's really do something better, get the world changing this way, get it different. Dolphins can't do that, so they're living in harmony with their environment. They have everything they need. They seem they've got, you know, the fish they just eat when they want them, or the squid, they eat a lot of squid. But they're there, they're not changing the world, and so I don't think they get caught up in the mind games that we do. See, we think a lot because we're thinking about, you know, have I done the right thing? What's so-and-so thinking of me? What's going to happen? What's going to happen to the stock market? What happened yesterday? We're continually thinking about what's happening in the world and how we can control the world and make it the way we want to be happy. And so much of that thinking, I think, comes back to the fact we have hands to manipulate the world. So I don't think dolphins think like we do. They don't think. I think thinking is a very human thing. They're much more just in the moment. And one thing I found fascinating on one of the workshops, I asked people what it was they found fascinating about dolphins, and they came up with things like their playfulness, their compassion, the fact they always seem to be just moving with the flow, and this sort of thing. And we came up with a list of about 20 or so things that people admired about the dolphins. And then we sort of looked at them and realized these were all things that we admire about sort of enlightened people or saints or wise people. You know, they're playful, they're compassionate, they're wise, they move with the flow, these sorts of things. And I think if we look at wise people, they're people who stepped out of that sort of incessant thinking, wanting, desiring, trying to control things. They're people who are living much more in the flow. So I think dolphins are sort of, they're what we aspire to be.
In terms of how they relate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to, going back just a minute. You mentioned they live in ponds.
Yeah.
And I wondered, well, do they discriminate against one another? Do they have a different language? Sets of language? Do some, like we, Spanish and Chinese and English and German? I mean, do they have different languages, and do they know how to really relate and connect with one another?
We've no idea. I mean, we don't even know how their language works. We have analyzed all the different sounds, and we know it's a complex language with a complex syntax, because you can do that sort of analysis mathematically, but we've no idea, you know, what they're saying, or if there's different languages between different pods. No idea whatsoever. We're just at the very, very beginning of understanding these creatures.
Yes.